Welcome to World Revolution Channel. Today we are embarking on a really comprehensive deep dive into some incredibly powerful concepts. We're looking at the mind-body connection and personal transformation, and our mission here is to analyze some pretty dense research and sources, all of it centered on the teachings of a really renowned figure who is leading the charge in this field.
Exactly. We're peeling back the layers on material that connects the dots between three huge disciplines. We're talking quantum physics, advanced neuroscience,
Right.
and the measurable effects of electromagnetism on the human body. The goal for us is to synthesize all this into practical, actionable strategies for you. This isn't just theory, not at all. It's about understanding the biological and, energetic mechanics of how we actually create change, health, and possibility in our lives.
Right. And the figure at the center of all this research is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's a best-selling author, a lecturer. He's given these advanced workshops in over 30 countries now.
Wow.
His core work revolves around this, I think, revolutionary concept that we as individuals have the inherent biological power to literally rewire our brains and condition our bodies to manifest a desired future. It's like the ultimate how-to for turning potential into reality.
It is. His work really provides a scientific methodology for what a lot of people used to just call, spiritual practice. It fundamentally argues that we aren't just victims, not of our environment, not of our genetics, or even our past history. Instead, by intervening in the processes of thought and emotion, we can proactively program our own reality. We can move from a state of separation and survival into a state of creation and connection.
Okay, let's unpack that. I want to start there. If the goal is creation, and let's say that's finding a new partner or achieving a specific health outcome or hitting a major career milestone, whatever it is for you. What's the core block? What is the single biggest physiological obstacle holding us hostage to the past and just blocking all this potential?
The primary observable block is the state of survival, or as the research often terms it, a constant state of readiness. So if you just observe most people in modern life, they are living with an internal engine that's, it's idling at really high RPMs. They're always anticipating the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Always. Predicting what might go wrong tomorrow or still reacting to what went wrong yesterday.
That sounds not only exhausting, but it almost seems to imply we're designed to be constantly stressed, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of being a creator.
Well, that's the key distinction. Biologically, we're designed for acute stress. Running from the tiger. Solving an immediate problem. That's fine. It's the chronic stress that's the problem. This chronic state of readiness triggers those primitive survival hormones. We're talking adrenaline and cortisol primarily. And these hormones just flood the system, preparing the body for immediate action. It's what we call the sympathetic nervous system response.
Okay, can you elaborate on that difference? The sympathetic versus the parasympathetic system. It's a concept that gets thrown around a lot, but its impact on our ability to create is, it's vital to understand.
Absolutely. The sympathetic system is your fight or flight system. It's all about immediate survival. It diverts blood flow to your arms and legs, it boosts your heart rate, and it shuts down anything that's not essential for survival right now.
Like digestion.
Exactly. This is why when you're stressed, you can't digest food well, you can't sleep, and crucially for this conversation, you can't be creative. Conversely, the parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. That is the state of repair, of growth, of creation. When we live in chronic stress, we essentially lock the body in that sympathetic mode.
So if I'm constantly swimming in cortisol because I'm worried about my finances or my relationship, my body is biologically telling me, it's saying, do not try to learn, do not try to create, and definitely do not try to open your heart.
Precisely. When the body is in survival mode, its entire focus is on managing the external environment and time. It's all about reacting. And think about this. If your attention is fixated on the environment, the people, the things, the places to determine how you feel, you are operating entirely out of lack. You're waiting for the external world to give you a signal that it's safe before you allow yourself to feel creative or joyful.
Which means your environment is controlling your internal state, not the other way around.
Exactly. You've given up control.
And the cost of just maintaining this state, it must be astronomical in terms of energy.
It is the ultimate drain. Stress consumes enormous amounts of vital energy. When the body is allocating all its resources to survival, it has to pull energy away from other systems. It has to downregulate, pulls energy away from the systems of long-term repair, growth, and immunity.
Right.
And this is how the constant repetition of this stressful state begins to downregulate genes, meaning it literally switches off the instructions for health and regeneration. which over time facilitates disease. Stress isn't just a mental state, it's a physiological process of self-exhaustion.
This sounds like a biological imperative almost.
Ah,
This need to constantly predict the worst-case scenario. It's a mechanism that was, I guess, useful on the savannah, but is completely detrimental in a modern office.
that's the primitive mechanism at work. We're wired to look for danger, so we try to predict the worst-case scenario just so we can feel ready, so we can feel justified if it happens. The research shows that true change requires taming the animal self, taming the conditioned body, so it is no longer stuck in that chronic state of readiness. We have to consciously shift our physiology from that sympathetic arousal back to parasympathetic coherence.
So to bring this first section to a close, then, if we're defining the ultimate goal of this work, it really seems to be about liberation from these conditioned internal states.
Absolutely. The ultimate goal is to become greater than your current conditions. To change is to be greater than your body, greater than your environment, and greater than time. Because stress fundamentally anchors you to all three of those things. If you are stressed, change is exceptionally difficult because stress is literally a state of disorder and disharmony. It's when you're out of balance and unable to truly be yourself.
Okay, so that leads to the next logical question. If stress is the block, what's the root of the stress? Why do we get stuck in that survival mode in the first place?
To transition there, we have to understand why we get stuck. And the answer, really, lies in how we process memory and emotion. Memory in this context isn't just a mental file you pull up. It's a form of chemical conditioning.
Chemical conditioning, how does that process work?
Okay, think about a highly impactful event in your life. A major trauma, a betrayal, a profound loss. When you experience that event, the stronger the emotion you felt, the more chemically altered you feel inside.
Right.
The brain perceives this powerful chemical cocktail and says, whoa, this is important. It immediately freezes a frame. It takes a neurological snapshot of the environment, the people involved, the time, the event itself. That is how long-term memory is formed.
And the problem then is that every time we recall that snapshot, we recreate the original chemical experience.
Precisely. That is the critical finding here. When people consciously or, unconsciously think about their past problems, they produce the exact same chemistry in their brain and body as if the event was happening right now. If you recall a betrayal and you feel that associated anger or that pain, you are literally bathing your system in cortisol and adrenaline, reinforcing the very trauma you think you're just reflecting on.
So the body isn't just remembering the past, it's physiologically reliving it.
Yes, the body gets conditioned emotionally into the past. The trauma or the betrayal isn't just a mental concept anymore. It is stored in the body's chemistry and physiological state, and that programs it to stay in survival. For the body, if that emotion remains charged, the past event is the present reality.
Yeah.
24 hours a day.
And this emotional conditioning, this must be the bedrock upon which our limiting beliefs are formed. So let's talk about how these repeated chemical patterns solidify into these unconscious programs.
A belief is basically a neurological pathway that has achieved critical mass. It starts as a thought you keep thinking over and over again. You're reinforcing the synaptic connections until that pattern becomes an automatic, unconscious set of circuits. By the time many of us reach middle age, estimates suggest that about 95% of who we are, our habits, our reactions, our emotional states, is made up of these subconscious, hardwired beliefs and programs.
And these programs are derived directly from those emotionally charged past experiences. So if I had a series of failed relationships, I draw a conclusion based on the chemical pain of those events.
Exactly. That pain leads to a conclusion. A thought like, I am not worthy, or love is painful, or I will always be abandoned. And that conclusion, because it's solidified by such a strong emotion, becomes the subconscious belief that we accept and surrender to. We often operate from this massive list of limiting beliefs that we're not even aware of. Beliefs that we've never critically tested, but which dictate our potential future.
This brings us to a really unsettling concept in the work. The idea of an addiction to survival emotions. I mean, why would anyone be addicted to feeling resentment or grief or victimhood? It sounds crazy.
It's a chemical addiction, pure and simple. Survival emotions, anger, resentment, self-pity, they provide a strong, consistent chemical rush or arousal. When people feel these emotions, they know they're feeling. This rush of stress chemistry is highly addictive to the body.
Oh.
People become addicted to their own beliefs because the thought pattern produces the specific chemical cocktail they've become habituated to.
Yeah.
So even though the emotion is destructive, the familiarity of it and the jolt it provides, that becomes a deeply ingrained habit.
Wow, that is the cruelest paradox, isn't it? We feel disconnected or lacking, so we wait for some external validation, a specific event or a person or an object to happen so that feeling of lack will go away.
And that is, chemically speaking, the least healthy way to approach creation. It just doesn't work. When you operate from the feeling of lack or separation, that emotional state is sending a frequency out that literally repels the very thing you want. If you are waiting for the environment to change how you feel, you are conceding all your power to the external world. The moment you feel the lack, you confirm the separation, and that ensures you remain chemically anchored to the past.
So the key to breaking this addiction, then, is to discharge the emotion from the memory. What does the research call the memory once that emotional charge is gone?
That memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yes. Once you can observe the event, understand the lessons from it, but not feel the accompanying pain, that wisdom is gained. The person is neurologically transformed, and they will never have to repeat that experience. You've extracted the data and left the drama behind.
This clarifies why forgiveness is so central to this work. I mean, it's not about letting the other person off the hook. It's an act of massive, energetic self-liberation.
Precisely. Forgiveness is overcoming the residual emotion of the past and removing your attention, your energetic focus, from the person or the experience entirely. When you consciously overcome that emotion, the body is no longer reliving that past trauma. Think of it like this. All the energy that was required to maintain that resentment, that anger, or that grief is suddenly liberated. That energy can now be used for creation and healing, instead of being expended on reliving a painful history. The only person who's truly affected by holding on to the emotion, justified or not, is the person holding it.
Okay, so if we accept that we are holding ourselves hostage through stress and this emotional addiction, how do we begin the concrete day-to-day process of transition? What's the blueprint for change?
The foundational principle is the journey to become. If your goal is to manifest a new life, whether it's perfect health, an ideal relationship, or financial abundance, you must first become the person who is worthy of attracting that reality. You have to embody the energy of that future self now.
And this ties right back to the principle of separation. If I want love, but I feel emotionally unworthy, I'm vibrating lack, not attraction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We cannot attract anything in our life that we feel separate or lacking from. The universe.
Yeah.
It doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you are. And who you are is your dominant state of being, which is the combination of your thoughts and your feelings. So the work is about changing that dominant state of being so you feel like you already have it. That eliminates the feeling of separation.
Now let's talk about the hard part, the moment of change. It has to feel tremendously uncomfortable because you're leaving the known, you're venturing into the unfamiliar.
It is the single biggest barrier. The moment you decide to make a different choice, to meditate instead of checking your phone, to respond with kindness instead of anger, you enter the emotional unknown. You are leaving the familiar, known patterns. And this is where the conditioned body, which has been programmed to be the servant of the old habit,
Right.
it fights back against the mind, the intended master.
So the conditioned body literally attempts to talk the mind out of the future. What does that specifically look like? What does that feel like?
It's that inner voice, the one that surfaces with all the old hardwired beliefs we just talked about. The voices say things like, "This feels weird," or "You're not good enough to succeed at this. This is too difficult, you should just quit," or "I want to go back to my old comfort zone." This resistance is the body's chemical craving for the familiar stress hormones. It's the true inner war.
The crucial work, then, happens at the moment we recognize that inner voice. We have to become conscious of those unconscious thoughts.
That is the essence of this practice, especially in meditation. You are training yourself to become the observer of your own thoughts and your own emotional reactions. You're only the automatic subconscious program when you are unconscious to it. The moment you shine the light of consciousness on a negative thought, you are no longer identifying with it. You're separating yourself from the program.
So becoming conscious of a negative belief is the first act of dismantling it. It's like watching an old TV show instead of starring in it.
That's a great analogy. The probability that you will go unconscious to that program again drops significantly once you catch yourself doing it. And as you observe a negative thought without feeding it energy, without believing it, you begin to weaken the neurological connections that sustain it. This is directly based on the Hebbian principle. Nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together. You are initiating a neurological death of the old circuitry.
Okay, so once we've created that space, that neurological death of the old pathways, We have to intentionally choose and install the new, empowering belief.
Exactly. You must consciously choose what thoughts you want to fire and wire instead. If the goal is I can heal or I am lovable, you focus on that desired outcome with intense intention and attention. By remembering and focusing on the desired belief over and over again through mental rehearsal, you begin to install the neurological hardware for that new personality.
And the repetition is what turns that hardware into the automatic software that runs the new personality.
Correct. The repeated focusing on the new thought creates a robust neurological pathway. It turns the hardware into the new software program, the new belief. And as we mentioned, belief is total. It's like pregnancy. Either you are or you are not. The ultimate goal is for this newly installed circuitry, this new voice of belief and possibility, to become your dominant internal guidance system. It becomes your future self, coaching you in your own head.
We've established that stress thoughts can make us sick by downregulating our genes. So if we flip the script on that, how do conscious, elevated thoughts create robust health and new possibilities? This clearly requires more than just, chanting positive affirmations in the mirror.
It demands a huge shift, a shift into the realm of conditioning the body emotionally into the future. This is the leap from mind over matter to mind and matter working in synchrony. The core mechanism is feeling the emotion of the future experience before it happens. If you can genuinely generate the feeling of joy or appreciation or profound gratitude for the health, the relationship, the opportunity you desire, you stop looking for it externally because you no longer feel separate from it. You are broadcasting the state of already having it.
So the core formula for creation is clear: intention plus elevated emotion.
Absolutely. Thought, which carries the electrical charge of the intention, the image of what you want, combined with feeling, which carries the magnetic charge of the elevated emotion. That is what creates the electromagnetic signature. This signal is what you broadcast into the quantum field.
And since we promised to touch on quantum physics, how does this thought-feeling signal relate to the quantum field?
The quantum field is, simply put, a field of pure potential and energy. It's all possibility. According to the research, your coherent electromagnetic signature, the energy you are broadcasting, influences the probability of future events manifesting. When you combine a clear intention, which is an orderly electrical signal, with an elevated emotion, an orderly magnetic signal, you create a high-powered, coherent wave. That wave interacts with the energy of possibility, and it draws that desired future to you.
To achieve that level of elevated feeling, though, we have to intentionally convert the body out of that sympathetic survival state we talked about. How do we make that physiological shift?
We have to consciously trade those low-level, destructive survival emotions, the resentment, the impatience, the frustration for elevated constructive emotions, things like kindness, care, appreciation, and profound gratitude. And the starting point for this practice is placing your attention on your heart center, because where you place your attention, you place your energy.
And I believe this is where the physical mechanics like breathing become absolutely critical to stabilizing that state.
Exactly. You must intentionally slow your breathing down. That's the first step to moving the body out of that sympathetic arousal. Slowing the breath also naturally slows your brain waves. Once you stabilize your breath, then you practice generating those elevated emotions, kindness, care, appreciation, with your attention focused on your heart.
This activates the profound process of heart-brain synchrony, or heart coherence. What exactly is happening inside the body when the heart is intentionally activated with an elevated emotion?
When the heart is activated by a sincere, elevated emotion, its rhythm becomes super organized or coherent. So instead of a jagged, chaotic heartbeat pattern, it develops this smooth, sine wave-like pattern. This coherent heart then sends a massive, organized signal information up the vagus nerve to the brain.
And what information is the heart sending? What's the message?
It's specifically instructing the survival system to shut down. It targets the amygdala, which is essentially the brain's ancient danger alarm and trauma center. When that coherent heart signal arrives, the amygdala goes quiet, the lights go out on the trauma center. And that effectively resets the physiological baseline for survival and trauma.
So the heart is literally informing the brain that it's safe to create, which then allows the brain to shift into a new pattern.
Precisely. Once the body moves out of survival, it's safe to learn and create. The brain shifts from those chaotic, stressed beta waves into beautiful, organized alpha brainwave patterns. And alpha is the state associated with deep relaxation, dreaming, visualizing, and creating new neural connections.
So the body is relaxed, but the mind is super focused. That's the paradox we were aiming for.
Absolutely. The research confirms this is the perfect formula. The body innately secretes new, restorative chemicals when it's living in the environment of love and connection. The ideal state is to be relaxed in your heart and awake in your brain.
And beyond just the emotional feeling, this process is cemented through mental rehearsal. It's about training the brain to live in that new future.
Mental rehearsal is the operational aspect.
Yes.
By closing your eyes and mentally rehearsing who you want to be, not just thinking about it, but immersing yourself in the feelings and behaviors of your future self, you literally cause the brain to look like you've already done it. For example, rehearsing how you will behave confidently in a job interview. It fires the neural networks responsible for that confidence.
So the brain creates the neurological hardware before the external event even occurs.
It primes the system. You are training the brain neurologically. If you continue this practice, the hardware becomes automatic software, and when the actual event occurs, your behaviors naturally and effortlessly match your intentions. And the final step is crucial. You have to maintain this modified state of mind and body throughout your day as an experiment.
Right, an experiment.
If you hold that energy, synchronicity, coincidence, opportunity, they will show up in your life as objective proof that your internal state has changed. And that proof just fuels your desire to do it again.
This brings us to the data. I think it's so important we move beyond philosophy and into the realm of measurable science. Because there's now substantial empirical evidence to show that this process of self-regulation, it's not pseudoscience. It's a genuine expression of human biological potential.
It really is. The anecdotes regarding individual health transformation are incredibly compelling. I mean, it's hard to ignore reports of people overcoming severe chronic conditions.
Tell us about some of those.
The anecdotal evidence is powerful. It spans people with muscular dystrophy, spinal cord injuries, severe autoimmune disorders, Parkinson's disease, and even stage 4 cancers going into complete remission. And crucially, this often happens after conventional treatments, drugs, chemo, surgery have already failed. The change in health in these cases is clearly a side effect of the person fundamentally changing their personality and their core beliefs about their ability to heal.
Okay, anecdotes are powerful, but to provide objective evidence, let's delve into the immunological studies, starting with immunoglobulin A, or IgA.
IgA is a fantastic biomarker. It's the body's primary natural defense against bacteria and viruses, and it's concentrated in our mucosal linings. We know that stress hormones, particularly high cortisol, suppress IgA production. It makes us vulnerable. So in our studies, we measured subjects' IgA levels before and after they intentionally engaged in the practice of generating elevated emotions, gratitude, joy, appreciation for a set period of time.
And what was the quantifiable result of generating that elevated emotion just by thought alone?
We found that subjects who successfully created and sustained these elevated emotions saw their IgA levels spike dramatically.
How much?
By an average of 50%.
Wow, 50%.
It's profound. It demonstrates objectively that a conscious, intentional thought process can upregulate your genes. It literally switches on the instructions for immune repair and signals the body to regenerate. The body is so objective, it just responds to the emotion, regardless of whether the stimulus is external, like a good thing happening, or internal, an emotion you fabricate by thought alone.
That is persuasive evidence of self-regulation. But the research goes even further into advanced immunity, specifically isolating a protein called serpin A5. Can you walk us through that stunning discovery?
Yes, this came about during the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. We began analyzing the plasma of our most advanced meditators. These are people who can consistently generate highly coherent states. We used their plasma in an adoptive transfer experiment, introducing it to a SARS-CoV-2 pseudovirus in a petri dish. And we made an incredible discovery. There was a powerful immunity present in the advanced meditator's plasma where the virus was inhibited from entering the cells.
And through careful analysis, the specific mechanism for that immunity was isolated.
It was. We isolated the exact protein that the bodies of these advanced meditators were producing, serpin A5. Serpin A5 is an antiviral protein, and it demonstrated a profound ability to inhibit the virus. This provides direct physical evidence that the body, through the coherent practice of mind and heart, is capable of manufacturing its own powerful defense system. It can transcend the environment. It suggests the human body is capable of manufacturing a pharmacy of chemicals that is better than any synthetic drug.
The power, though, isn't just limited to the individual. What happens when large groups engage in this practice together? You mentioned the emergence of a collective consciousness.
This leads us to the field of epigenetics and communal transformation. At our week-long retreats, we gather people from sometimes 90 different countries, each with a unique genetic background. After 7 days of intense collective practice focused on coherence and elevated emotion, we discovered something extraordinary. Nearly 80% of the population began expressing the same genes and making the same proteins.
No way.
Yes, they are biologically evolving together in synchrony, influenced by the unified field of collective intention.
That's a measurable biological synchronization. That's incredible. Tell us more about the elder youth study, which seems to highlight the transfer of wisdom and plasticity within a collective setting.
This was a beautiful study. We paired young people aged 18 to 25 with elders aged 60 to 80 for 7 days. They ate together, meditated together, and they taught the information back to each other. We used pre- and post-scans of their brains. We hypothesized we'd see positive changes, but the results were far better than we anticipated.
How is the improvement quantified, particularly in brain function?
The post-scans showed both groups exhibiting brains that were, this is the term they used, comparatively way better than the controls who had just attended a health seminar. Specifically, their forebrains were in beautiful, highly synchronous gamma patterns.
And gamma is?
Gamma is the fastest brainwave, associated with superconsciousness, peak states, and cognitive processing. At the same time, the rest of the brain was operating in alpha, meaning they were relaxed, elegant, and creative. The wisdom of the elder, their stabilized life experience, was transferred to the youth, and the plasticity of the youth was given back to the elder. Cognitive tests confirmed the youth performed significantly better in specific tasks after just 7 days with the elders. This absolutely confirms that community and shared coherent practice drive biological change.
Let's move to the most difficult evidence to grasp for some people, the global field effects. You mentioned experiments involving random event generators, or REGs. For our listener, how do these coin toss machines measure the effect of consciousness?
A random event generator is a device that uses electronic noise, pure physical randomness, to generate binary outputs. It's essentially flipping a coin thousands of times per second. By definition, over time, the results should average out to 50% ones and 50% zeros. They are designed to be unpredictable. However, when a collective network of people with coherent hearts and brains observe these RBGs with a focused intention, say, for example, generating more ones, the machines become significantly more orderly. They shift the results outside the statistically accepted 50-50 norm.
That is remarkable. It implies a non-physical influence. But here's the critical question. Have researchers tried to definitively prove that this is an electromagnetic effect, rather than just group focus or stillness? For instance, what happens if you try to block the signal?
And that is where the key control experiment, the Faraday cage, comes in, and it's highly instructive. A Faraday cage is a metal enclosure that completely shields anything inside from external electromagnetic radiation. When one of these REGs was placed inside the Faraday cage, it behaved as if nobody was in the room. It maintained its strict 50-50 randomness, completely ignoring the collective intentional focus of the group.
Wow.
All the other REGs outside the cage, however, shifted toward the intended non-random outcome.
That is compelling evidence. It suggests that the highly coherent heart, which generates a strong magnetic field, and the organized brain, the electrical field, combine to create a measurable electromagnetic energy, a Wi-Fi signal, if you will, that influences the physical environment.
That is the interpretation. The field generated by the coherent collective, which is far stronger than the field of a single individual, interacts with the electromagnetic environment. It demonstrates that collective intention can influence reality. And the ultimate validation of this was the Walk for the World.
Describe the scale and the results of that event.
The Walk for the World was a global event. It involved over 350,000 participants worldwide, all engaged in a synchronized movement and meditation focused on a unified intention. We partnered with institutes that measure the Earth's own electromagnetic field. At a specific point during the synchronized walk, when the collective coherence reached its peak, the Earth's field exhibited a dramatic, measurable shift. It mirrored the highly orderly, non-random pattern we saw with the REGs. The data suggests that when a collective network comes together in synchrony and coherence, it produces effects that are globally measurable.
So the final synthesis, then. After detailing all the science of survival, of belief, and possibility, what is the core mandate that we can derive from this extensive body of research?
The mandate is that the data suggests we are fundamentally greater, more powerful, and more unlimited than the story we've been told about ourselves. But this potential is not freely given. It has to be earned. It's earned by showing up daily, especially when the work is hard. When you confront that programmed 95% of your unconscious self that's trying to pull you back, the internal war, that addiction to stress hormones must end for the creation process to truly begin.
This has been a deeply detailed analysis for the learner. To summarize the core transformation, change is fundamentally about trading separation, that chemical state of stress, lack, and reaction for connection. The electromagnetic state of love, coherence, and gratitude by intentionally conditioning your body into the future you desire.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture and the chemistry of survival, the research suggests a profound redefinition. We're traditionally taught that the opposite of love is hate. But if you analyze the chemical, the neurological, the energetic state of the body, the true opposite of love is separation or chronic stress. Stress is the ultimate expression of feeling isolated and lacking.
That is a powerful and challenging reframing. If the opposite of love is separation, not hate, then the question that remains for you to consider is this. Where in your daily life are you currently sacrificing creation, growth, and connection for the familiarity of survival and stress?
When you're in survival mode, your world contracts. You cannot open your heart. The data shows that the body is only truly free and balanced in the absence of the addiction to stress hormones. And that state of freedom and balance, that's joy.
So we encourage you to take the findings of this deep dive and make change an experiment, not a chore. Try to maintain a modified, elevated state of mind and body relaxed in your heart and awake in your brain for just a single day. See if changing your energy changes your reality. Thank you for watching. Please like them, share, subscribe, follow up in next topic. Welcome back to the deep dive. We are really excited because today we get to come back to continue our exploration of the just groundbreaking work of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
That's right. Last time was really about laying the foundation, but today we're going for full immersion.
Full immersion, exactly. The mission today is to move, past the high-level concepts and get right into the nuts and bolts, the specific mechanisms.
And the hard science. We want to look at how we, as, thinking, feeling people, are literally creating our own reality.
Through this really specific interplay of our thoughts and our emotions, this whole deep dive is, well, it's our way of understanding the data behind converting those survival states.
The ones we all get stuck in.
Right, that chemical default setting.
Yeah.
And converting that into a state of, pure creation, limitless possibility.
And it's so important for you to realize that the source material we're looking at gives us an incredibly detailed map for this. It's not just, philosophy.
Not at all.
It's this integrated view of neuroscience, quantum physics, and endocrinology all rolled into one. The core idea we're digging into is, what is the actual fundamental barrier to change?
Whether that's for better health or love or abundance, whatever it is you're after.
Exactly. And the data is just so consistent. The barrier is a biological chemical addiction, an addiction to the past.
Which is another way of saying we're just living in a constant state of survival.
That's it.
That concept, being chemically addicted to the past, that is just so powerful. Let's unpack that right away with a really common example, something so many people struggle with.
Okay.
Finding love, manifesting a deep, lasting relationship. The sources are so clear on this one principle, and it almost sounds like a paradox at first.
Which is?
We cannot attract anything that we feel separate from. So if you're sitting there feeling lonely, feeling that lack, feeling separated from the love you want, you're actually holding yourself hostage.
And not to fate or bad luck.
No, hostage to the chemistry of yesterday.
That is absolutely right. When we look at what's blocking the manifestation of love, it's not some spiritual failing. It's structural biology.
Okay, explain that. What does structural biology mean here?
It means if a person is living in a state of hypervigilance, this constant readiness, what we're calling the stress or survival state, your body is just flooded with stress hormones.
Cortisol, adrenaline,
norepinephrine, and these chemicals have one job and one job only. Immediate short-term survival.
And when the body is in that primitive mode, what's shut down? I mean, creation must be off the table.
Completely. You're not vulnerable, you're not open, and you're definitely not primed to open your heart or build a new relationship. The body's entire focus is external. It's scanning for threats.
Managing the environment, right. And time speeds up.
Time speeds up because danger feels imminent. It's a brilliant protective mechanism, but it completely prevents creation.
The sources define change so beautifully here. To change is to be greater than your body, greater than your environment, and greater than time.
Precisely. And if you're chronically stressed, you are a slave to all three of those. Your body is running the show, the environment dictates your mood, and you feel like you never have enough time.
So change is, I mean, it's a biological impossibility until you interrupt that cycle.
You have to consciously interrupt it. You have to first understand and then, successfully tame that ingrained animal self that's just trying to predict the worst case scenario.
Just to be ready.
Just to be ready. So that conversion from a threat state to a creative state, that's the central mission here.
Okay, let's go deeper then. Deeper into the science of how we get trapped by the past, how these self-sabotaging beliefs form. This is where the chemistry of trauma and memory. It just provides such a clear explanation for why we feel so stuck.
It really does. So when a high-impact event happens, a physical injury, a betrayal, some kind of humiliation, the emotion is so strong that the brain's amygdala and hippocampus just light up.
They go into overdrive?
Total overdrive. And this intense emotional response, it floods your system with adrenaline and cortisol. This causes the brain to do something amazing. It freezes the frame, it takes a detailed snapshot.
And that snapshot, now it's chemically bonded to that intense emotion, becomes a long-term memory. But the sources say the key here is that the memory isn't just a picture.
No, it's a chemical formula.
So when I recall that past problem, I'm reliving the betrayal or the failure in my mind. I'm not just feeling sad.
You are reproducing the exact same chemistry in your brain and your body as if the event were happening right now, in this moment.
So I'm giving myself another dose of cortisol.
A fresh dose. And that's the addiction. Because the person keeps thinking the thought, and the thought creates the emotion, the chemistry. The body starts to get conditioned. It becomes emotionally conditioned into the past.
So the trauma isn't just in my brain anymore.
Not at all. It's stored as a physical, chemical expectation in your tissues, in your cells. Your body is literally programmed to stay in survival, just waiting for that past event to happen again.
And this leads us right to how beliefs are formed, doesn't it? How did the sources define a belief in this system?
A belief is, well, it's basically a thought. You just keep thinking over and over and over again. You think it so much that it gets hardwired into the brain. It becomes an automatic, unconscious program.
And if you're constantly reliving the trauma chemically, you're hardwiring the conclusions from that trauma. Things like, I'm not lovable, or the world isn't safe.
You're burning it into your deep neural circuitry.
And we know that by the time we hit midlife, something like 95% of who we are, our habits, our emotional reactions, it's all run by these subconscious beliefs.
Right. It's not philosophy. It's measurable, automatic programming. And it's all rooted in past emotion.
This creates what the sources call the default loop.
The default loop. Yes. The moment we feel any sense of lack or stress, even from something small like a difficult email, we default right back to the past.
And the old story kicks in.
The old story. Dating is hard. I always fail. People will let me down. And that story just reinforces the subconscious program, the belief. We just accept it and surrender to it as if it's the absolute truth.
What's so fascinating, and this is so relevant for anyone looking for love, is the challenge of disbelief. If you've had a really powerful negative emotional event, like a deep heartbreak, the stronger that emotion was, the more chemically altered you were.
Right. The charge creates a stronger memory, an indelible one.
Exactly. And you lose the fundamental belief that you're worthy or that good people even exist. You're just neurologically stuck, chemically trapped inside the walls of that original painful emotion.
In that confinement, it defines your future. You are literally vibrating at the frequency of your past disappointment. The key insight really is just realizing that beliefs are simply subconscious states of being. They're running the show without your permission.
So if you want to change, the absolute first step has to be just becoming conscious of that unconscious belief.
That's the whole game.
That's huge. So if I'm trying to change my life, but I keep reacting automatically, that's just the program running.
You're just the program.
But what happens in that moment when I catch it, when I hear that inner voice saying, this is too hard, or I'm going to fail?
That moment.
Yeah.
That moment is liberation. The instant you become conscious of the unconscious belief, the probability of you going back to it starts to decrease.
So it's not about just flipping a switch and the program is gone.
No, not at all. The sources emphasize it's about catching yourself going unconscious faster and faster each time. It becomes a skill, the skill of awareness.
And that skill is what stops you from just surrendering to the old survival chemistry.
It's the critical first step. It's how you shift the power from the body's conditioning back to your conscious mind.
Okay, so if we accept that we are, chemically addicted to the stress hormones of our past, the next logical step is figuring out how to break that addiction. which brings us to the path of change. And the sources argue this path starts with taming the emotional self, the animal self.
The physical goal here is a really profound shift in your autonomic nervous system. We need to convert from the sympathetic state,
Fight or flight.
fight or flight, stress, readiness, to the parasympathetic state, which is rest, digest, and crucially, creation.
And this isn't an accident. It has to be a deliberate, conscious shift.
Completely deliberate. It requires you to trade those chronic survival emotions, resentment, impatience, frustration, even the justifiable anger you feel for elevated emotions.
And let's be super clear here. The sources aren't saying you shouldn't feel angry when someone wrongs you.
Of course not.
They're saying that holding on to that justified resentment, it serves no one. It just keeps your own body poisoned.
It's the old saying, right? Holding resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Yeah.
And the sources give us the exact neurological tactic to stop the poisoning.
The reset button.
The internal reset button. Heart coherence. You start by just placing your focused attention on your heart in that space. And then you intentionally slow your breathing way down.
Like 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out.
Something like that. And that physical action is the mechanism you use to pull your body out of that state of arousal.
I think we need to stay with the heart for a minute because this is where the science gets so cool. It's not just a poetic idea. The heart is actually calming the brain.
It absolutely is. When you activate your heart with genuine elevated emotions, and you have to really feel them, not just think about them.
So kindness, care, love, gratitude.
Gratitude is a big one. When you do that, the heart's rhythm becomes highly coherent, organized. It looks like a smooth sine wave instead of the choppy, jagged rhythm of stress.
And that coherent heart then sends a signal.
It sends a specific, organized signal and information pulse right up the vagus nerve to the brain.
And what's the message? What is the heart telling the brain?
The heart is telling the brain to stand down. Shut down the survival system. This organized signal literally causes the lights in the amygdala, the brain's fear center, to go out. It resets the trauma baseline. It allows the body to immediately move out of survival and just be in the present moment. It's a rapid, measurable biological change.
And the neurological payoff follows right away. So once the heart tells the brain it's safe, it's time to create.
It's time to create. The brain then shifts its activity into organized alpha brainwave patterns.
And why is alpha the perfect state for creation?
Well, alpha waves are the bridge, really. They bridge the gap between your conscious analytical mind, that's beta waves, and the subconscious feeling mind, which is theta.
So in alpha, the inner critic gets quiet.
The judging part of the brain quiets down, and that allows for profound imagination, creativity, dreaming. This is the sweet spot for creation. Relaxed in your heart, but awake and conscious in your brain.
You're no longer just reacting to the environment.
You are intending a new one.
But getting to this state, and more importantly, staying in this state, that's the daily challenge, isn't it?
That's the work.
The sources say the process of overcoming the old self is the becoming process of the new self. So what does this path of change actually require from you, the listener?
It requires you to make a choice that feels, well, fundamentally uncomfortable. You're leaving the familiar known for the complete unknown.
And the body is going to fight back.
The body, which has been conditioned to be the mind of the past, is going to resist with everything it has. It'll throw up doubts, aches, restlessness, boredom.
All these tactics to convince you you can't do this, you're not a good meditator, this is a waste of time.
Exactly. But that resistance is the old program trying to pull you back in. The sources say if you're just sitting there becoming aware of those self-defeating thoughts, you are doing the exact work required for change.
The key is to see the thought, but not engage with the emotion of it.
That's it. To install a new belief, you need more than just positive thinking. You need this potent combination of clear thought and an elevated feeling.
So you mentally rehearse it.
You intentionally rehearse the belief, I am healed, I am whole, I can find love, by closing your eyes and really rehearsing the scene of your future self living that. This mental rehearsal actually builds the neural circuits before the experience even happens.
So this is like conditioning the body emotionally into the future. Why is the feeling part so critical?
It is the essential ingredient. It's not enough to intellectually think you want love. You have to condition your body by maintaining the elevated emotional state of having love right now.
You have to feel the gratitude, the wholeness, the worthiness now.
Right now. And as long as you maintain that elevated emotion, you maintain the belief in that future. The emotion becomes this magnetic force that literally draws the new reality to you. When the thought and the feeling are aligned, you just shorten the distance between what you want and having it.
But maintaining that state of gratitude and worthiness is, well, it's impossible if you're still carrying all this emotional baggage, specifically unresolved hurts. Which brings us to one of the hardest but most biologically necessary steps. Forgiveness. We usually think of forgiveness as a moral thing, but the sources frame it as a biological necessity. Why is it so vital?
It's vital because that chronic, unforgiven, emotion-like resentment, it just keeps the survival system switched on. The sources define forgiveness not as, letting the other person off the hook.
It's not for them.
It's not for them. It's a profound internal act. Forgiveness is when you overcome the emotion of your past so completely that you no longer focus your attention on that person or that experience. It's a radical act of self-love.
So if the memory of a past event is tied to that intense chemical charge, the stress hormones, what happens on a scientific level when you truly forgive?
The emotional charge gets severed from the memory, and the sources call a memory without the emotional charge. Wisdom.
That's beautiful.
It is. Once that charge is gone, the body is no longer chemically holding on to that trauma. And the person realizes, on a deep intuitive level, that living in a state of resentment or victimhood, it's not loving to the self. It is physically consuming your energy and damaging your health.
So forgiveness is basically a physiological detox. We talk about the mental relief, but what's the measurable physical payoff?
It's massive energy liberation. Just think of all the energy your body uses to maintain that survival, keeping muscles tense, pumping cortisol, running that trauma loop over and over.
It must be exhausting.
It's incredibly draining. When forgiveness happens, that huge reservoir of energy is liberated. Energy that was wasted on stress can now be used for creation, for healing, for building your future. The body physically feels lighter.
And this liberation is so key for rebuilding trust, especially the trust you need to create something new. If I want to create love, I have to be able to open my heart again.
Which requires courage, the courage to trust the future, even if the past was brutal. To create love, you have to feel worthy of love. And you have to feel love now. This means practicing opening your heart maybe multiple times a day, through things like heart coherence.
And when that internal shift happens, when you're coherent and open and grateful,
you start to notice things, synchronicity. Coincidences show up in your life. The sources say these are the universe responding. They are proof that you are the creator of your life, attracting based on your current energy, not your past.
And the ultimate goal of this whole process, the true opposite of being addicted to stress hormones, is joy.
Joy. And the sources define joy simply as the absence of the addiction to stress hormones. Is the body returning to balance, to homeostasis? When you're no longer constantly out of alignment because of past memories, the natural state that emerges is joy and fulfillment. It means you've mastered the animal self.
Okay, let's pivot now from the emotional journey to the measurable objective proof. The biological and physical data that comes from this work. This is where the deep dive gets really exciting.
The research here is extensive. We're looking at cases of people who applied these principles and achieved just profound healing. People with severe chronic conditions.
Like what?
Muscular dystrophy, spinal cord injuries, advanced Parkinson's, even stage 4 cancers who have gone into complete documented remission.
And when you look at hundreds of these cases, what is the one single consistent conclusion?
It's almost deceptively simple. The person changed, and when they changed, their health changed, their internal state, their thoughts, their emotions, their beliefs. That was the variable that shifted.
And often this whole journey started because they just hit a wall. They lost their belief in external solutions.
Exactly. They ran out of options. They exhausted the drugs, the chemo, the surgeries. All that was left was the belief in themselves and the belief in possibility.
That moment of surrender to self seems so critical.
It is. They didn't meditate just to heal a condition. They meditated to change their emotional state. They had to trade the desperation of the past for the feeling of wellness of the future. They had to condition their body over and over to believe the healing had already happened.
Which interrupts the default circuitry of sickness.
Completely. And this just underscores the radical connection between thought, emotion, and our genes. We know stress downregulates healthy genes and creates disease. The question was, can your thoughts, if you sustain them in an elevated state, actually make you well?
And the data says?
The empirical data says yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's look at a key study on the immune system. They measured something called immunoglobulin A, or IgA.
All right, what's IgA?
IgA is your body's frontline defense. It's a primary antibody against bacteria and viruses, and it's highly sensitive to stress. It usually plummets under chronic stress.
And what did they find when people were taught to intentionally trade resentment for gratitude, moving into heart coherence?
They found a quantifiable dramatic spike. By maintaining that elevated state, IgA levels increased by an average of 50%.
50%, that's incredible.
It's an extraordinary statistical anomaly. It shows that a conscious emotional shift can physically activate and boost your body's innate defenses, and fast.
Now, let's get into the data that really pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible, the plasma study from around the time of COVID.
This is truly groundbreaking stuff. They focused on the plasma of advanced meditators, wanting to see if their internal state produced measurable protective compounds. They isolated a specific protein that was in high concentration in their plasma. It's called serpin A5.
Serpin A5, what is it and what did it do?
Well, it's a protein involved in a lot of different processes. But in this study, the serpin A5 from the meditators was tested against a pseudo-SARS-CoV-2 virus in the lab. And they found that this protein actively inhibited the pseudovirus from entering human cells.
So their bodies were creating their own advanced antiviral.
That's the profound implication. The body, through consistent practice, is creating its own superior defense mechanism. It's literal proof that you can make your inner environment greater than your outer environment.
We're moving this conversation way out of the realm of just, nice spiritual ideas and firmly into empirical biochemistry.
We have to. The research is showing that our own autonomic nervous system can manufacture a pharmacy of chemicals that is vastly superior to any synthetic drug we have.
That is the key realization.
And what's even more compelling is the speed of this change. In a typical drug trial, a 25% response rate is often a huge success, and it can take months.
Right.
But in these 7-day studies, with people who were totally new to this work, the data showed 75 to 100% of participants had biological outcomes that mirrored advanced long-term meditators.
So there's this incredible untapped human potential that's accessible almost immediately. If people can do this in a week, what does that say about the limits we place on ourselves?
It says that our perceived limitations are mostly just our addiction to the past. When people see they are making real physical, biological change, not just feeling a bit better, their commitment becomes fierce.
There's a great milestone the sources give for measuring progress.
Yes. Don't worry about if you react. Worry about how long you keep reacting.
That's it.
Change is about constantly checking in, noticing when the survival state kicks in, and then converting back to coherence, especially when it's hardest. That daily choice is what rewires everything.
The power of the individual change is immense. But what happens when you combine that coherence, that intentional energy with thousands of people at the same time?
Now we're moving into collective consciousness. And the biological consequences here are just as mind-blowing.
This is where the research gets really ambitious.
It does. When you get large groups together, sometimes from 90-plus countries, all understanding the science and applying it with a unified intention, an emergent consciousness happens. The data shows that after just 7 days, around 80% of the population starts expressing the exact same genes and making the exact same proteins.
That's a rapid, documented biological evolution of the group. The sources call it the tribe or the flock evolving together. What kind of markers are they seeing?
They're looking at metabolomics and genetics. Thousands of new metabolites are released into the blood. The body starts acting like it's living in a new, profoundly safe and nurturing environment, even though they're just sitting in a room.
So they're producing things like
endogenous opioids, which are natural painkillers, chemicals for neurogenesis, new brain cell growth, cancer suppression compounds, resistance factors to pathogens. The group coherence triggers a massive, positive, systemic shift.
Let's talk about a really fascinating study on this, the intergenerational exchange experiment. They paired young people, 18 to 25, with elders, 60 to 80.
For a 7-day retreat, yes. And the results of this pairing were unexpectedly powerful. The control groups, people changing alone, they already showed positive brain changes. But the brain scans of the paired groups were, and this is the term used, way better.
Way better.
Showing much higher levels of complex organized activity. The hypothesis is that a non-local transfer of wisdom and energy occurred.
Okay, non-local transfer is a challenging idea. Is this just psychological, or is there a field effect being suggested?
The data points strongly toward a field effect, even if we don't know the exact mechanism yet. What we can measure is the outcome. After the retreat, brain scans showed both groups with significantly elevated gamma brain waves.
And gamma is associated with?
Peak performance, superconsciousness being intensely present, And they also had elevated alpha waves for deep relaxation and creativity.
And the cognitive tests back this up.
They did. The youth, specifically, performed substantially better on cognitive tests after being with the elders in that coherent environment. It just highlights the vital importance of intergenerational connection, not just for support, but for measurable cognitive enhancement.
This leads us to the most radical claims in the source material, that this collective energy can actually influence the global field. How do they even try to measure that?
They use highly sophisticated devices called random event generators, or RAGs.
Okay, break that down.
Our RAG is basically a computerized coin toss machine. It's programmed for perfectly random 50-50 outcomes. It's measuring chaos in the environment.
And when a huge, coherent collective with unified brain and heart coherence sets a strong intention like healing or peace, what happens to the REs?
The data consistently shows a dramatic shift. The RGs move way outside the expected random norm. The data starts to become orderly, showing structured patterns that reflect the group's intention.
So it suggests the collective energy is influencing matter and order in the physical world.
That's the suggestion, yes.
So where did they take this experiment next?
They took it global, an event called the Walk for the World. Over 350,000 participants, all walking with a single collective intention to be the change they want to see.
And the goal was to see if that collective energy could influence the Earth's own electromagnetic field.
Exactly. They partnered with the HeartMath Institute, which has a global network of highly sensitive magnetic sensors, magnetometers, that measure fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field.
And what did the magnetometers show during the walk?
About 45 minutes in, right at the peak of the meditation and focused intention, the HeartMath sensors saw a profound, dramatic shift in the Earth's electromagnetic field. It mirrored the orderly patterns from the RG studies.
Wow.
It provides compelling evidence that a large, coherent group of human consciousness can generate enough energy to influence the global field and potentially influence global human behavior.
Which has huge implications for our own communities. If reality is partly a collective memory and others see us through the lens of our past, what happens when one person in that group truly changes?
When one person commits and changes, they no longer show up as the memory others have of them. They become genuinely happier, more present, kinder, and that's where the natural evolution of the group begins.
That's where mirror neurons kick in, right?
Exactly. When someone in your flock breaks out of the old programming, the mirror neurons and everyone else activate. They see real joy, real courage, and it automatically encourages them to emulate that new, better behavior. The collective consciousness evolves naturally.
Not through argument, but through modeling.
Through modeling genuine felt change. So the final call to action is to embrace what feels unnatural so it can become supernatural. When everyone else is angry, you show forgiveness. When they're afraid, you show courage.
Love, in this context, is the glue. It's the magnetic force.
It is. The sources tell us to show up as the change we want to see. Be the catalyst for the collective by consistently maintaining that coherent, elevated state, especially when the world is trying to pull you back into the past. So, to synthesize all of this, the true opposite of love isn't hate. It's separation. It's stress. When you're in stress, you're separated from possibility, from the collective, and from your own creative self.
And the formula for change is so precise. Relaxed in your heart, but awake in your brain.
That's it.
And you have to remember, belief isn't a one-time thing. It has to be earned daily through that sometimes uncomfortable process of overcoming the old subconscious programs.
The big shifts happen not when it's easy, but in those quiet, difficult moments when you feel the urge to react or doubt, and you consciously choose the elevated emotion instead.
The most powerful advice from the sources is to frame this whole thing as an experiment, not a chore.
The greatest experiment of your life. Just ask yourself, sincerely, if I change my energy, this electromagnetic field I'm producing, will my life change? If I hold this feeling, should a coincidence show up?
That curiosity shortens the distance between the thought and the experience.
It really does.
Well, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, follow up in next topic. And as we close, here's a final thought. Considering the profound biological changes we've discussed, gene expression, immune response, protein production, all seen in just 7 days in a collective, what level of possibility are you unknowingly blocking in your own life by prioritizing the familiar chemistry of the past over the unknown potential of the future?
Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we cut through the noise and get straight to the wisdom you need to thrive.
Today, We are undertaking a really critical deep dive. It's about something that touches every single part of our lives, our financial reality.
But maybe not in the way you'd expect. We're talking about our emotional reality surrounding money.
That's right. And for this, we're drawing really heavily from the insights of Lewis Howes, the author of Make Money Easy.
And his whole argument, really, is that financial freedom is an inside job. It starts inside you first.
It's a truly powerful starting point because the material we're looking at today just offers such a counterintuitive approach to traditional financial literacy.
Right. For years, we've just been told that financial abundance is about, optimizing spreadsheets, cutting budgets.
Applying brute force discipline.
Exactly. Just being harder on yourself. But Lewis Howes, he completely shifts the conversation. He's basically saying that real sustainable wealth is fundamentally an emotional and psychological game.
A game that has to be won before the practical numbers even have a chance to align.
And that's our mission today.
Yeah.
To unpack exactly how to win that internal game. The core paradox that anchors this whole discussion is the sheer debilitating stress people feel about money.
Oh, it's huge.
I mean, you, the listener, you probably know that feeling, that desperation, that paralyzing fear that hits when the bills pile up.
Or when inflation just makes next month look impossible.
And what's so striking, and what he talks about, is that this stress doesn't just disappear because you get a high income.
No, not at all. Even highly successful, high-earning people often feel profoundly trapped.
Trapped by anxiety, by debt, or just the fear of losing it all.
That financial anxiety is nearly universal, and it feels like it's amplified right now by, everything going on with the global economy.
For sure.
So when you hear a title like Make Money Easy, it can feel almost insulting.
Yeah, if you're staring down a mountain of debt.
Exactly. If you're operating from a place of chronic scarcity and panic, the idea of ease just seems completely impossible.
It's like being desperate for love or something.
That's a great analogy. That deep-seated anxiety and grasping often creates this static, and it pushes the very thing you want farther away.
So in this case, financial security.
Right. We have to dismantle that static first.
Okay, so let's unpack this core psychological shift. The first crucial point Lewis makes is that getting out of financial struggle, it isn't about intensifying your pain.
It's not about feeling worse about your situation.
Or becoming harder on yourself. In fact, it's the total opposite. It's about cultivating what he calls a richness inside.
You have to deliberately shift your focus from the external lack to internal abundance.
So what does that even mean, internal abundance?
It's defined by your inherent value.
Yeah.
Your character, your kindness, your generosity, your ability to contribute or serve other people.
I see.
The idea is that your internal state, that sense of self-worth and capability, that acts as the wellspring.
And if the wellspring is dry?
If it's dry, panicked, and fearful, you can't draw abundance from it. If you approach money from a place of desperation, you will inevitably act desperately.
You'll make poor decisions, you'll jump at every quick fix.
And you'll ultimately repel sustainable growth. So the starting point has to address this deeply emotional, anxious, and often putative relationship we already have with money.
We have to see it as energy.
Exactly. See money as energy, not as some kind of moral judgment on who we are.
This realization about your internal state, it brings us directly to what he calls step one, the power of awareness and the nervous system.
Right. The foundation of this entire rewriting process is just radical self-awareness.
Awareness about your specific attachment style toward money.
Yeah.
And this is the critical part, your body's actual physiological somatic reaction to it.
And this is where we move past the abstract thinking and we get actionable immediately, right where you are sitting right now.
You have to become an active, non-judgmental observer of your own physical and emotional reactions.
During specific financial moments, this isn't just a mental exercise. It's a physical, somatic inventory.
Okay, let's detail those specific moments because they're like crucial diagnostic opportunities. So think about when you receive money. It could be a big paycheck, a small bonus.
Or even just finding a few dollars in an old jacket.
What is that split-second reaction before the joy or the relief kicks in?
Then you have to consider when money leaves you, when you're paying bills, paying off debt.
Or even just buying something you really need.
And don't forget the moments of review, like when you actually look at your bank account balance or open your purse or your wallet.
What is the immediate physical signal? This is what Lewis calls your nervous system security.
So when you check your accounts, does your chest tighten up?
Is your jaw clenched?
Do you hold your breath or start shallow breathing?
Or are you relaxed and expansive? Do you immediately feel that anxious, tight, scarce feeling.
That feeling that is the precursor to a full-blown fight-or-flight response.
That's a fascinating application of biology, right?
Yeah.
The fight or flight system is designed to protect us from, immediate physical danger.
Like a lion or a tiger.
A lion, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when we look at a bank statement and our body reacts exactly as if a lion were in the room.
The rational part of your brain just shuts down.
Prefrontal cortex, the part that manages rational decision-making and long-term planning, it just goes offline.
Precisely. If that financial trigger puts you into a state of panic, your ability to rationally save or invest or negotiate,
It's gone.
it's severely compromised. So that simple awareness exercise, just noticing the tight stomach, the shallow breath, that is the diagnostic tool.
And once you establish that physical and emotional reaction, you can ask the critical question.
Is this frantic, tight relationship the one I actually want to be having with money?
Do I feel secure around it, or am I in a state of constant financial hypervigilance?
And for the vast majority of people, regardless of their income level, the internal answer is a resounding no. I do not feel secure.
And this is so beautifully illustrated by Lewis's own story. He achieved massive financial success while still holding on to this deep-seated poverty mindset.
Oh, that anecdote is just vital here, because it shows the massive gap between someone's net worth and their emotional well-being.
He was successful enough to make money, but because he hadn't healed the underlying scarcity wounds.
He couldn't enjoy it. He couldn't even use it. He hoarded every single penny.
And it was out of this deep, relentless fear of going broke again.
A fear that was rooted in his past experience of sleeping on his sister's couch and feeling completely dependent.
I think that specific detail of being financially free but still trapped, that's what really resonates with people.
Yeah.
He had $1 million in the bank. $1 million. And yet he was intentionally sleeping on friends' couches.
Or taking the cheapest, most uncomfortable middle seats on planes and buses.
Physically uncomfortable, just because he was constantly anxious about losing the money.
He had built this external fortress of wealth, but the internal fear was still running the entire show.
This is the perfect example of how a high net worth does not equal emotional freedom.
At all. It doesn't mean you've healed your money wounds. If you are unwilling to spend money on your own basic comfort,
Or if you're afraid to even look at your bank account.
you are still living in scarcity. You're still trapped by that stress response.
So this raises a really important question then. How can we possibly receive more money? How can we attract big opportunities if our internal system is constantly tight and anxious?
Or just fundamentally unwilling to even acknowledge the money we already have.
Right. If every interaction with money, receiving it, spending it, even just looking at it, triggers a fight or flight response.
We're effectively signaling to the universe, and more importantly, to our own subconscious.
That money is dangerous.
Exactly. That money is a threat. So the foundational necessity here is relaxation.
It sounds so simple.
It sounds simple, but it's profound. We have to train our body to associate money with safety and ease.
Okay, so what does that look like?
Well, if you can't relax when money arrives, you'll just feel guilty and you'll fear losing it.
And if you can't relax when money leaves?
You feel resentment and lack. So by consciously relaxing your jaw, breathing deeply, and just noticing that scarcity response without judgment, you begin to create an open, secure vessel.
A vessel that's capable of receiving and managing sustainable wealth.
So we've done the somatic diagnostic in step 1. Step 2 then is taking that knowledge of our physical response and going back to the origin.
To achieve that secure relationship with money, you have to understand your money story.
And how it rigidly defined your specific money personality style.
The money story is. It's like the initial blueprint, right? But it's unconscious most of the time.
We don't invent our relationship with money in a vacuum. We inherit it. It's drawn directly from our childhood observations.
The emotional tenor of our homes, the fights we overheard, the values we absorbed.
Think about those conversations you were privy to as a kid. Did your parents constantly fight about expenses?
Were there arguments over the cost of school trips or sports or programs they just couldn't afford?
Money is one of the biggest reasons for divorce and marital arguments. So those early financial stresses, they leave deep psychological scars.
And we often end up just developing the relationship style of our parents.
Or we go to the other extreme, a complete reactionary style, unless we consciously intervene and decide to change it.
For Lewis, his early scarcity trauma led to him feeling perpetually beneath everyone else.
He specifically cited that memory of comparing his sneakers to other kids' rollerblades.
Or having to watch other kids play Nintendo because his family couldn't afford one.
And that constant, subtle feeling of being just a little bit disadvantaged, it shaped his core identity to be deeply insecure around money.
So when he finally got it, he was excited, of course, but also totally paralyzed. He was unsure what to do with it.
Because the underlying fear of lack was still the dominant program running in the background.
And then we see a completely different but equally destructive manifestation in Jay's story.
Right. His background instilled this sense of rigid, almost moralized scarcity.
His family motto was having just enough.
Which reinforced the belief that making money was inherently hard. You had to struggle for it.
She started working at 14, delivering newspapers for, nothing. Pittance.
And that was a physical reinforcement of the idea that reward only comes through difficult, grueling labor.
But this is where the cognitive dissonance really sets in for him. The difficulty of the labor wasn't even the biggest block.
No. The really insidious belief Jay developed was the association of wealth with immorality.
That his family narrative suggested that people who have money are doing something bad or shady.
Let's dedicate some time to unpacking that specific internalized conflict because it is incredibly common. He felt worthy as a person, he was ambitious, he was kind, hardworking, but he simultaneously believed that good people are poor.
So the internal logic then dictates. If I become wealthy, I become bad and wrong and hurting others.
And that internal conflict creates a catastrophic block to abundance. It's a total self-sabotage machine.
Because if your subconscious mind believes that success is a moral failure,
it will constantly trigger self-sabotage mechanisms. You might unconsciously miss opportunities, engage in reckless spending, or feel profound guilt whenever you achieve any kind of financial milestone.
It's a mechanism that's designed to keep you safe and good in the eyes of your own internalized moral code.
Even if it keeps you perpetually poor.
So the pain of this step 2 awareness is realizing that your own operating system, your emotional defense mechanisms, is the primary obstacle to your financial goals.
And that's why most people avoid this step entirely. They actively avoid looking at their finances because they're terrified of the reality.
Which only confirms the underlying narrative. It's never enough.
Because of rising debt and costs and everything else.
So the process of healing the money story, it requires more than just reflection. It needs active confrontation of those past wounds.
Absolutely. Lewis talks about confronting wounds like being stolen from, or even incidents where he himself stole something when he felt desperate.
And these moments need to be re-examined, not with shame, but with curiosity.
Right. You have to ask, how did that event shape my current fear of trusting others with money? Or my current willingness to engage in risky behavior?
To truly heal, you have to identify whether your current money personality style, whether you're a hoarder, a spender, an avoider, or a worshiper.
You have to decide if it's leading you toward abundance or keeping you perpetually stuck in scarcity.
It's about consciously saying, okay, that was my parents' story or my childhood story. I respect its influence, but I am choosing a new script now.
And that new script requires radical action.
Once you've established that awareness and you've identified the origin of your scarcity mindset, the next logical step, and this is absolutely essential, is applying a radical, practical habit shift.
A shift toward generosity and gratitude.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because this is the most counterintuitive solution.
It really is.
When you are struggling, broke, overwhelmed, and maybe feeling truly helpless, the conventional advice is to pull back.
Hoard your resources, focus only on yourself, build your walls up.
But the source material argues the exact opposite. The best way to create abundance is to flip that switch entirely.
You move from feeling helpless, needing help, being stuck to actively seeking helpfulness.
Adding value to others, being generous.
This is a direct attack on the scarcity mindset. It is founded on the core psychological truth that your beliefs dictate your behaviors.
Which create your reality.
Yes. If you believe money is evil, or that you are only deserving of just enough, your behaviors will only align you with opportunities that yield that meager result. You will stay in lack.
But generosity fundamentally shifts the belief from I don't have enough to I have enough to give.
Even if what you're giving isn't money.
Right. The major block, which Lewis and Jay both repeatedly emphasize, is this pervasive lie that you can't be generous with your time or your wisdom or your knowledge.
Because others will just take it and they'll leave nothing left for you.
It leads to this intellectual and energetic hoarding.
But if you talk to any sustainably wealthy individual, they all stress a generous mindset. They talk about giving more than they even feel comfortable with sometimes.
And that reinforces the belief that the universe is abundant and capable of replenishing you.
So let's ground this in reality, especially for you, the listener, who might be facing debt. We are not talking about writing a large check you can't afford.
Not at all. We are exploring what true generosity looks like when you are financially lacking.
Lewis realized that when he was broke and on his sister's couch, his only real assets were internal.
His energy, his excitement, his passion, and his curiosity.
And that untapped currency, passion, and curiosity is incredibly valuable.
He realized that this energy is a high form of currency, especially for successful people who are burnt out.
People who are exhausted and who are craving to feel young and excited and energized again.
He could give that energy and attention freely.
And the real-world examples of this non-monetary value exchange are just incredible here.
Okay, like Jay's strategy with the NASDAQ Facebook Live platform.
Yes, he received zero pay for running these interviews with massive names like Ryan Holiday and Deepak Chopra.
But he traded something of high value. He offered them a billboard presence in Times Square on NASDAQ's giant screen.
He was essentially leveraging the platform's visibility to give his guests this non-monetary, high-prestige advertising opportunity.
So he traded value for connections, not for cash.
And this showcased his talent, it built deep relationships, and it ultimately led to the connections that rocketed his career.
Like meeting Gary Vee through Ryan Harwood. It's a perfect case study in using the assets you currently control, your platform, your energy, your relationships, to generate future wealth.
Lewis mirrored this exact strategy early on by offering free services.
He offered free optimization of LinkedIn profiles for CEOs and executives.
He admitted this wasn't his passion project. It wasn't what he wanted to do forever.
But it was a skill he had in that season of his life.
And that initial generosity built trust, it led to paid consulting gigs, and it created the foundational money he needed to launch the School of Greatness.
It demonstrates the seasonality of skills. You use the skills you have right now, even if they're temporary, to build the foundation for your ultimate goals.
And beyond this proactive generosity, the sources strongly push the habit of gratitude.
Right. How do we cultivate that rich, abundant feeling internally, regardless of whether the bank account is cooperating at the moment?
This is where that Japanese philosophy encapsulated in Ken Honda's happy money ritual comes in.
The practice is beautifully simple.
When money arrives, whether it's a large deposit, a normal paycheck, or even if you just find a single penny on the street, you pause.
And you say, internally or out loud, thank you.
And the crucial component here is that you do the exact same thing when money leaves.
So when you're paying bills or paying down debt, you say thank you for the transaction.
This practice forces you to be mindful and loving and appreciative toward money as it flows in and out.
It shifts the relationship from one of dread and panic to one of respect and gratitude.
And Jay brought in the parallel concept from Indian culture, the Lakshmi tradition.
Where Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune.
Yes. And in that tradition, you would never step on money. And if you picked up a penny, you'd touch it to your head as a sign of respect.
These practices, they're not just superstitions, are they?
No, they're psychological reinforcements. They teach you to honor the flow of wealth, reinforcing the idea that you must maintain a respectful, appreciative relationship with it if you want it to flow consistently to you.
This theme of respect and relationship is so central. It culminates in one of the most profound visualization exercises Lewis suggests.
The one about imagining money as a person walking into a party.
Yes. This visualization, it forces you to bypass your intellectual understanding and confront your true, deep-seated emotional feelings toward money.
What does your body do? How do you react?
Most people, if they're brutally honest with themselves, they admit to a deeply negative, self-sabotaging pattern of interaction.
They'd run to the bar, right? Avoid eye contact at all costs.
They'd gossip about money behind its back, saying it's the root of all evil.
They would use and abuse money desperately when they needed it for a crisis, and then
emotionally ghosted afterwards when the immediate need was gone, feeling shame or guilt.
now just imagine treating an actual person that way, avoiding them, only using them when you need something, and then gossiping about them negatively.
Would that person want to keep showing up in your life?
The implication is stark. If you treat money with fear and disrespect and avoidance, it will not stay and it will not flow easily.
A healthy, respectful relationship is absolutely essential for sustained abundance.
The ideal response, which Jay's Lakshmi example helps illustrate, is treating money like an honored guest.
This involves bowing as a sign of respect, not subjugation offering hospitality.
Expressing genuine appreciation for its presence and even allowing for vulnerability.
Sharing your financial struggles almost like a prayer or an honest conversation with a respected mentor.
And this generosity, it extends beyond just direct transactions. It manifests in non-monetary forms of service energy.
Okay, like the psychological studies on service staff and tipping?
Exactly. They found that simple, generous acts, like a server introducing themselves or making a specific recommendation,
Giving value.
giving value, and complimenting the customer's food choice, creating a connection, those things significantly increased tips.
So the monetary reward was a direct result of the non-monetary generosity and service energy that was provided.
That energy is the currency. Jay tells that fantastic story of the waitress or hostess who received 3 job offers at one table.
Right. She had such genuine passion and high energy making connections, giving value, showing curiosity.
That the customers wanted to hire her immediately. On the spot, her college resume didn't matter.
Her energy in the moment, her generosity of spirit, that was her most valuable asset. And it instantly translated into opportunity.
And we circle back to the wealthy individuals Lewis interviewed. They often found more success when they gave in amounts that felt slightly uncomfortable.
They were testing their own threshold.
It's not about token giving. It's about giving an amount that truly cements the belief that you are fundamentally capable of generating more. You're overcoming that scarcity test.
Okay, so we have to address the quick fix trap directly now. Because when you've done all this internal work, the next logical step the listener wants is the external reward.
They want to know the hack. They want to make money quick.
And both Lewis and Jay deliver the same painful shared wisdom.
Seeking a quick hack or easy money often leads to losing money at the exact same speed you want it.
If you put money into an investment you know zero about, if you're chasing a trend without due diligence,
You are disrespecting the process and the market. You are almost guaranteed to lose. The easy path is often the fastest path to depletion.
so if you, the listener, have managed to save, say, $1,000 and you're desperate to make it grow, what is the best investment you can make right now?
The unanimous advice is clear. Invest it in yourself.
Specifically, invested in courage and confidence.
Absolutely. Think about what truly limits your earning potential. Usually, it's fear.
Fear of public speaking, fear of rejection, fear of charging what you were actually worth.
Fear of launching the product. So investing in courses, whether it's public speaking or advanced writing or a technical skill you currently lack, that creates the courage to act.
And that courage is the engine that builds confidence.
And confidence then becomes the currency. It allows you to charge more, to put yourself out there without shame, to negotiate effectively, and to ask for what you're truly worth.
It's an internal investment with exponential returns that no market crash can ever take away from you.
You are essentially shifting your identity from someone who is passive about money to someone who is an active generator of value.
And that shift brings us back to the ultimate prize, the true definition of wealth.
Which is internal freedom.
Lewis defines winning the internal game so simply. He says, when you can live beneath your means and feel abundant, you've won.
It means that regardless of the number in your account, you are appreciating what you have and genuinely feeling, man, life is so good with what I have right now.
The ultimate cautionary tale in all of this. It really reinforces the fact that external wealth is not enough for internal freedom.
No.
Lewis shared that devastating story of the wealthy man in his LA apartment building, a billionaire who took his own life.
Despite having, seemingly all the money in the world.
That powerful, tragic anecdote is really the punchline of this entire deep dive.
It really is. Having massive wealth cannot solve internal problems. It can't guarantee self-worth, it can't provide healing, or foster meaningful relationships.
If you haven't done the self-worth work, the money will only amplify your existing stress and anxiety.
The money work and the self-worth work are inseparable. You can't skip one in favor of the other.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The path to financial freedom. It starts not with the spreadsheet or the quick hack, but with deeply personal internal healing.
It requires awareness of your money wounds, confronting the negative narratives that hold you back.
And adopting a mindset of radical generosity and gratitude, even when you feel you have nothing left to give.
And this emotional and psychological labor is necessary regardless of your current financial situation. It's the work you'll have to do whether you succeed tomorrow or in 10 years.
You can't skip it. You can only postpone it.
Which raises an important question. How can you find a way to feel emotionally free today, right now, with the resources you currently possess?
Because by finding that freedom, money transitions from being this terrifying source of crippling stress into a powerful tool for good.
A tool for creating opportunities, fostering valuable memories, and serving causes you care about.
Remember, as the sources clearly demonstrated through their own stories, you don't need money to feel rich.
You need internal freedom and a deeply healthy, secure relationship with yourself and with the concept of wealth.
Thank you for engaging with us. If you found value in this deep dive, please share these insights with others. And we look forward to exploring our next topic with you.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We are circling back to continue with the work of Lewis Howes, specifically that just incredible conversation he had with Jay Shetty about our relationship with money.
We are. And it feels really important to do this.
It does, because this is such a foundational topic. It's not about the how-to just yet. We really need to get to the bottom of the why first. Why we feel the way we do about finances.
That is exactly right. I mean, if you're tuning in hoping for a quick fix, a hot stock tip or something, this is going to be a very different kind of journey.
A happily disappointing one, maybe.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Because what the sources outline is it's so much deeper than just financial management. It's a complete psychological and really energetic transformation.
The goal today is to go from feeling trapped by that anxiety, that scarcity, to actually experiencing what they call emotional freedom.
And that's the key phrase, emotional freedom. It's possible, regardless of what your current bank account looks like.
So our mission here is to really understand that a high net worth doesn't automatically mean you're free. It's not a guarantee.
Not at all.
We're going to dive into the steps, cultivating, an absolute awareness of our own money story, adopting generosity as a habit.
And leveraging what they call strategic seasonal skills. It's a really practical way to build a foundation.
Yeah, we're chasing a feeling here, the feeling of abundance, not just a number on a spreadsheet.
But that brings up the central paradox, right? The one we have to tackle right away.
Which is?
How can you possibly feel abundant when you're broke or stressed or, drowning in debt? It feels like a lie.
It does. It feels completely counterintuitive.
It is. But the sources are clear. The internal shift has to come first. If you get the money while you're still operating from fear and scarcity, well, all you've done is build yourself a prettier cage.
A golden cage.
Okay.
Well, let's unpack this. Where do we start?
We start with a critical first step, awareness.
The journey begins internally. And, this is probably the hardest part because it means you have to look at the very thing that's causing all the stress in the first place.
Your finances.
Exactly. Lewis Howes says we have to start with an internal audit. He calls it our attachment style toward money.
We call it the nervous system audit. I think that really gets to the heart of it.
Oh, I like that.
Because this relationship isn't logical. It's not in your head. It's deeply physical. It's emotional.
So you need to become aware of how your body is physically reacting when money is involved.
Yes. Think about a totally normal event. You get your paycheck. Great. Or on the flip side, you have to pay a big bill. Or look at your credit card debt.
Okay, so in that moment when the transaction happens, what's the visceral response?
Right, in your body.
Yeah, in your body. Like, does your breathing suddenly get shallow? Do you feel that knot in your stomach?
Or do you clench your jaw? A lot of people do that and don't even realize it.
Right, or tension in the shoulders. That's a big one for me.
It's a huge one. That's your body screaming at you that something's wrong. That moment of payment is really the moment of truth.
So if paying the utility bill makes me feel stressed, that's a signal.
It's a huge signal. It's signaling an unhealthy attachment, a money wound. You're seeing money as a threat, not as the tool that it is.
And you can't change something you're not aware of.
You can't. You have to be able to stop and ask, is this anxious, stressed out relationship with money, is this really the one I want to keep having for the rest of my life?
And if the answer is no, which I imagine it is for a lot of people,
then you have to look at where that story started, the money story.
Which, as the sources show, isn't something you chose. It was kind of written for you.
It was written into you, in your subconscious, almost always during childhood.
It's about how you saw your parents or whoever raised you deal with money.
Exactly. Did they operate from a place of chronic lack? Was money a constant source of fighting? I mean, the data is just overwhelming on this.
Money struggles are one of the biggest reasons for divorce.
Biggest. So if you grew up only hearing money discussed in terms of stress or maybe secrecy or conflict, you internalize that. You learn that money itself is dangerous.
And the details really matter here, don't they? They're so relatable.
Oh, completely.
Like being told you can't go on the school trip because it's too much, or seeing one parent hide a purchase from the other.
Those moments forge this deep insecurity, a belief that you are somehow less than, or that you're just not the kind of person who gets to have nice things.
Yeah, Lewis Howes talks about that feeling of being beneath other kids. They had the new rollerblades or the Nintendo, and he didn't.
And it's those small, frequent gaps that build an identity of, I'm always a little bit behind everyone else. I'm not worthy of ease.
Which leads us to what might be the most damaging block of all, what they called the good person trap.
This is a huge one. This is where we go from just observing our parents to actively sabotaging ourselves as adults.
Okay, break that down.
The realization from the sources is that our deepest moral beliefs are what actually dictate our financial behavior.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people who are trying to be, good, ethical, maybe spiritual people,
Right.
there's this unconscious belief that wealth requires some kind of corruption.
That to have money, you must be doing something shady. Or you're selfish, or you're exploiting people.
Exactly. And the logical next step from that belief is, therefore, good people must be poor, or at least they have to struggle. It makes wealth a moral problem.
So if my identity is tied to being a good person, and being a good person means struggling financially.
You will actively and subconsciously sabotage any chance you have at real wealth.
Wow.
You'll turn down the promotion, you'll undercharge for your services, you'll forget to follow up on a huge lead, you'll do whatever it takes to stay in that safe, morally superior state of struggle.
So the minute I start making good money, my internal alarm goes off. It's saying, warning, you're becoming a bad person. Get back to the struggle.
It is the perfect mechanism for keeping yourself in a state of perpetual lack.
So how do you even begin to deconstruct that? It's so deep.
It starts by just challenging the assumption. Look at people you admire who are wealthy. Are they all corrupt? Are they all bad people?
Of course not.
Almost certainly not. You have to consciously find new data points that prove good, generous people can also be successful. Because if you stay stressed and refuse to even look at your bank account because you're afraid of what you'll see,
That it's never enough.
you're just consenting to stay in that prison. The core takeaway here is so powerful. If you avoid looking at your finances, you are guaranteeing you will stay paralyzed. You are actively blocking yourself from receiving more.
You're holding the door to abundance shut because you're scared to look at where you are right now.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've identified the trap. Fear, avoidance, this cycle of need. How do we break it? Because this is where the sources get really, really interesting.
Yes. The shift is so counterintuitive, especially when you are at your lowest point, broke on a couch, facing a deadline.
Your instinct is to take, to hoard, to ask, what can I get?
Yes, to look outward and ask, how can someone help me fix this? But the mindset shift required for abundance, it flips that question completely.
It becomes, how can I help others right now?
That's the one. And this introduces the foundational habit, radical generosity and gratitude.
And the sources are clear. This isn't just a nice to have, it's the gateway.
It is the indispensable gateway, and it's required even if it leads to zero immediate financial gain. It's about the energy first, money second.
Before you can even do that, you have to get past what you called the lie block.
Yes. The lie block. It's that crippling fear that if you are generous with your time, your wisdom, your secrets, that someone will just take it, profit, and leave you with nothing.
It's a scarcity mindset applied to knowledge and energy.
It's fundamentally corrosive. It forces you to hoard your most valuable internal assets, your passion, your ideas, which just reinforces the reality of scarcity.
But let's challenge that for a second. Because the person listening who is really struggling might be thinking, wait a minute, if I'm broke, giving away my time and ideas for free feels like a huge risk. Shouldn't I be monetizing every second?
And that is a perfectly legitimate question coming from that scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
But the evidence from the sources, from all these interviews with successful people, it's just overwhelming.
What's the evidence?
The people who sustain wealth and peace and happiness, they operate from a mindset of giving. They understand that by solving other people's problems generously, they create a kind of gravity well of opportunity. You're planting seeds. You're not trying to harvest the whole field today.
This brings us to that beautiful idea of the currency of energy and passion.
Yes, because when you're broke, you feel like you have nothing to offer, and that is a deep, deep lie. You possess these untapped currencies.
So think about the person who has all the money, the billionaire, the busy CEO. They have money, but what do they often lack?
Energy, passion, joy, curiosity. They're often burnt out, totally depleted. They're craving the very thing the person who is just starting out has in spades.
So if I'm broke, but I can approach a successful but exhausted person with genuine, fresh curiosity, asking smart questions, showing excitement for their mission, I'm actually offering them the highest form of currency they can get.
You're offering them a spark, a memory of their own past passion. Lewis Howes's whole career is the perfect example of this.
He was injured, broke.
And he didn't think he had any skills to charge for.
Mm-hmm.
But he realized, I'm curious. I can just ask people great questions. And that genuine, generous energy is what built a 12-year podcast that made millions. It was an investment of passion, not money.
This isn't just wishful thinking, though. This is strategic, intentional value creation when you have no capital.
Absolutely. The sources have amazing concrete examples. Look at Jay Shetty's early days.
Right.
He needed high-profile guests, but he couldn't pay them. So what did he do? He partnered with NASDAQ. He offered these admired guests, people like Ryan Holiday, Deepak Chopra. He offered them an interview on NASDAQ Live with their photo on a billboard in Times Square.
So he was offering them something money couldn't buy. Prestige, exposure, a huge moment of recognition.
Exactly. He wasn't getting a salary for it, but he was creating immense non-monetary value. And that generosity led directly to relationship building. He met Gary Vee through a connection he made on that show. He found a way to give massive value when his own bank account was empty.
That is brilliant. And there's another great anecdote, the one about the waitress.
Oh, it's a beautiful story. A waitress or hostess who got 3 legitimate job offers in one night from different tables.
And she wasn't some expert consultant. She was just exceptional at her job.
And what made her exceptional, it wasn't efficiency. It was her energy, her passion, her genuine presence. She was connecting with people, making thoughtful recommendations, treating every table like an opportunity to provide joy.
Her energy was a magnet. The guests didn't ask for her resume. They just saw this incredible, positive person and thought, I want that on my team.
It's the perfect example of energy trumping credentials every single time.
And even on a micro level, psychology backs this up with tipping.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
The studies are so clear. Tiny acts of connection dramatically increase the return.
What are they?
3 things. Introduce yourself by name, creates a personal bond. Make a specific recommendation, shows care and expertise. And compliment the customer's choice, reinforces their good feeling.
All of them are about creating connection and positive energy.
Exactly. Value exchange is always more than just the transaction.
And underpinning all of this generous action is gratitude. You have to practice gratitude.
You have to. The sources talk a lot about Ken Honda's concept of happy money.
Which is about changing your emotional relationship with the transaction itself.
Yes. You consciously say thank you when money comes in. Any money. A normal paycheck. Finding a dollar on the street. And, this is the hard part, you must say thank you when money leaves.
So instead of feeling that resentment when I pay rent,
You say thank you for the money that allowed me to pay for this shelter, for this security. When you pay the phone bill, thank you for the connectivity that lets me pursue my opportunities.
you're showing appreciation for what money does, not just for having money.
You're retraining your brain. You're shifting it from a source of stress to a benevolent tool. And this connects back to so many cultural traditions, like the respect shown for Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune.
That's a powerful connection. The tradition of never disrespecting fortune, picking up a penny on the street, not because it's worth 1 cent, but because it's disrespectful to step on the energy of fortune.
You are demonstrating a reverent, respectful relationship with money as an energy. You're treating it well, you're inviting it to stay, you're acting as if you are already abundant, and that creates the feeling.
Okay, so that's the internal shift. Now we have to move to the external, the action.
Yes. Now we transition from mindset to behavior. And this part is all about confronting that very real desire for the quick fix, the I want to make money fast hack.
We all feel that temptation. But the sources draw this really important line in the sand, a distinction between making easy money and making money easy.
And they are not the same thing.
Not at all. Making easy money is the flawed path. It's chasing trends. It's unsustainable. Making money easy is the result of consistent generosity and skill development over time.
The trap is always rooted in speed. The speed at which you win, they say, is often the speed at which you will lose.
And why is that?
Because those quick wins usually happen because the person has skipped a crucial step, what we call the mapping habit.
Okay, we need to define that. What is the mapping habit?
It's the structured process of really understanding the ecosystem you're about to enter, identifying your actual value, creating a realistic plan. If you jump into, say, day trading, without having mapped the risks, the industry, your exit strategy, you're not investing.
You're gambling.
You're gambling. You're disrespecting the process. And when the money disappears just as quickly as it came, it just reinforces that old scarcity story. See, money is fleeting. It never stays.
That explains so much about why people get burned by those schemes. So instead of the quick win, we focus on what they call seasonal skills.
Yes. And this is so important and so realistic. It's about doing work you might not love forever, but it provides the stable financial foundation, the runway for what you do want to build.
We romanticize only doing our passion, but the truth is sometimes you have to do what you have to do for a season to create the stability to pursue your calling later.
Lewis Howes is the perfect blueprint for this. When he was starting School of Greatness, he didn't try to monetize it right away.
What did he do?
He identified a marketable skill he had, optimizing LinkedIn profiles for CEOs and executives.
That wasn't his passion. That was like administrative consulting work.
Exactly. But it was in high demand and it was profitable.
Yeah.
He started doing it for free to get testimonials. Then he started charging good money. And that revenue became the financial runway that let him launch his dream project properly. That was his seasonal work.
Jay Shetty did the exact same thing.
The exact same thing. He was 4 months from being broke. He didn't wait for a dream job. He emailed 1,000 people.
1,000.
And he basically said, I will do anything. Video editing, social media consulting. He just hustled.
And that seasonal work, that hustle, is what funded the launch of On Purpose.
It's the undeniable lesson. Everyone has skills that are valuable to someone. Embracing that temporary seasonal work is the disciplined act that funds your future self.
Okay, so once we have the skills and the action plan, now we get into intention and opportunity. And the big question, can you manifest money?
Yes, but, and this is a huge but, only when clear intention is paired with clear action and a sense of openness. Intention without action is just daydreaming.
This brings us to the wheat penny story, which is such a great practical example.
It's a perfect social experiment. So Lewis Howes sets this radical intention. He starts repeating the mantra, money comes to me abundantly and freely. I see it everywhere. I'm a magnet for money.
He's setting the energetic stage.
But the energy needed an action to ground it. So he's in a New York subway. It's freezing. It's gritty. He sees 2 pennies on the stairs.
And his first thought is what everyone's first thought would be.
It's 2 cents. They're dirty. It's not worth the effort. Dismissal.
And that's where most of us fail, isn't it? We set the big intention, but when the opportunity shows up in a small, inconvenient, or dirty package, we walk right by.
We walk right by. But he had committed to the intention. So he forces himself to stop, bend down, pick up the 2 dirty pennies, and say, thank you, I receive.
He honored the tiny amount.
He honored all incoming money. And the discovery later was just staggering. One of those filthy pennies was dated 1945. A rare copper wheat penny.
Potentially worth thousands of dollars?
Potentially thousands. The $4,000 value was literally hidden in plain sight, disguised as 2 cents of filth.
The lesson is so clear. Opportunity is often hidden in the things we dismiss as too small or not valuable enough.
If he hadn't honored the pennies, the opportunity would have been lost forever. Which brings us to how we invest our resources.
Let's make it practical. If someone listening has, say, $1,000 to invest, where should they put it?
Based on this principle, definitely not in a get-rich-quick scheme they know nothing about. That violates the mapping habit.
So where does it go?
You invest in yourself first. You put that $1,000 into building competence and confidence.
So like a course, a coach.
Yes, a public speaking coach, a writing course, a software certification, something that creates a tangible skill, because that skill builds courage, which leads to action, which builds confidence.
And confidence is a currency.
Courage and confidence are the highest form of currency, and they last forever. They can't be wiped out in a market crash. You are investing in the foundation of your ability to generate income for the rest of your life.
So now we get to the ultimate goal of all of this. But it's also, paradoxically, the biggest trap that's left.
It really is. Many people do everything right. They heal their money story, they become generous, they build wealth, and they are still scarce, stressed, and miserable.
And the sources say this is an even greater prison than being broke.
An even greater prison. It's the tragedy of getting the financial success without the emotional healing.
You get the money, but you bring the scarcity mindset with you.
And you see it all the time. The sources talk about people with millions in the bank who still sleep on their friends' couches, who fly the cheapest airline, not because they're frugal, but because they are terrified of losing it all and going back to being broke.
That hoarding of wealth out of fear, That doesn't feel rich.
It feels like a prison. It proves that money is not the solution for a low sense of self-worth. If you haven't healed your relationship with yourself, money just becomes something else to be anxious about.
And the most devastating outcome of this is when you hear stories of the ultra-wealthy who are profoundly unhappy, even taking their own lives.
It's the ultimate proof. Money cannot solve a self-worth problem. It can't make you feel loved or accepted if you don't feel that way about yourself first.
Which is why the real goal isn't the net worth, it's emotional freedom.
It's to feel free every single moment, as often as possible. To allow money to just be a tool to create opportunities, memories, moments of generosity. It's not the destination.
So if the fancy cars and watches don't bring peace, what's the winning formula? How do you feel truly rich?
The formula is so simple and so countercultural. Live beneath your means and feel abundant.
Live beneath your means and feel abundant.
It means you get to a place where you don't need the external purchase, the car, the watch, the trip, to feel good about yourself, to feel cool or validated. Your life feels whole and good with exactly what you have right now.
You take the power away from the marketplace. If I need a new luxury item to feel good, I'm always going to be chasing the next thing.
Always. True wealth is that internal peace. And that internal wealth is directly tied to the only real wealth there is: deep, meaningful relationships and a solid sense of self-worth.
Let's bring this full circle back to generosity being the ultimate wealth magnet.
Yes, the sources are completely consistent on this point, straight from the mouths of millionaires and billionaires.
And the advice is?
They find, again and again, that they make more money in the years where they give more away.
And this is intentional giving.
Oh, it's radical, intentional generosity. Giving an amount that feels a little uncomfortable. Writing a big check to charity, to employees, to the community.
Because giving creates that energy of abundance. It sends a message to yourself. I have so much that I can share this freely.
It's an act of faith. It connects right back to gratitude. The relationship you have with money, if you respect it, share it, thank it, that determines if it wants to stick around.
Treat money like a person you love and respect.
Exactly. Like the hospitality you would show Lakshmi. If you cherish it, it will want to stay in your home. If you abuse it, avoid it, or complain about it constantly, it's going to ghost you.
So this deep dive has really taken us on a journey from, identifying that paralysis from our money stories to using practical seasonal skills and finally prioritizing our internal wealth, courage, confidence, generosity.
And the ultimate prize isn't the number in the bank. It's that sustained emotional freedom.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
It means that money is an energy. And like any energy, it responds to respect and intention. The relationship you build with it, the gratitude you show when it comes in and when it goes out, that's the key variable. The goal is to make money easy, not to chase making easy money.
Thank you for engaging in this. It's essential work, but it's often really difficult work, this kind of self-reflection. We really encourage you to spend some time this week thinking about your own money personality style.
And as you go about your day, try to visualize this question from the sources. Imagine money walks into a party where you are. How would you react?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Would you treat it with genuine respect, offer it a seat, ask how you can be of service to it, or would you immediately try to use it, abuse it, and then ignore it until you desperately need it again? Your honest answer reveals everything about your current relationship.
Keep cultivating that courageous confidence and that generosity. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found this valuable, please feel free to share it. Subscribe so you don't miss our next session as we continue this journey of discovery and growth.